My name is Sarah Boatiapia, Client Experience Head for Metropolitan Ghana. And as part of our Customer Service Week, we want to host our partners and our clients in mental health talk discussion. Our topic is work-life balance and mental well-being. I have here with me a resource person who is Dr. Echo Daniels, and I'll give some brief introduction about him, and he will take us through some few presentations, and we have an opportunity to also ask any questions where need be. So my resource person is Dr. Ebo Daniels. He is an esteemed director of the Solace Wellness Clinic, bringing over a decade of experience across multiple medical disciplines, including pediatric surgery, internal medicine, clinical psychology, and gynecology. His multifaceted expertise position him as a leader in comprehensive healthcare services. He's a clever person, he solves problems, he's wise as well, and he has some deep insight as well and passion for health education and preventive care. He's a proud graduate of the University of Ghana Medical School, and is also a forefront of advancing telemedicine and corporate wellness programs. So, Dr. Daniels, we have your clients here with you, our partners as well. And we also want to use this as an opportunity as well for you to educate us so that we can also reduce some of the stress that we find ourselves in at the workplace, just to ensure that we have a good well-being as well. So, Dr. Daniels, if you're on call, I'll hand over to you whilst we start the presentation. Thank you so much.
I want to thank the management of Metropolitan Health Insurance for this opportunity. And I also want to thank you, Sarah, for moderating the program and all the faces I know at Metropolitan Health Insurance. I don't want to mention names, so just forgive me because of the brevity of time. And I also want to thank all our partners who have joined us. My name is Ebo Daniels, as Sarah said. I'm part of the Solace Wellness Clinic team. Our mantra is your partner in disease prevention. And for the Solace Wellness Clinic, what we believe is that all hospitals should invest in preventive health. But unfortunately, instead of most hospitals or health facilities investing in preventive health, we are all competing on the number of beds we have in our facilities. And we grade the best hospitals with the best infrastructure for admissions and all kinds of complex procedures. Unfortunately, even the owners of these hospitals would not like to lie on those beds. So what we think we want to do, or the foundational quote that actually underpins our work is, a clever person solves a problem and a wise person prevents it. And that is why this morning we are having this program here. So our vision for all of you, our partners, Metropolitan Health, your staff, in this Customer Service Week is for you to live longer. And our mission is to help people live healthier and longer lives by preventing disease through proactive health education. That is why we are accepted to be part of this program. Health education is something that we are very passionate about. And we are also very passionate about comprehensive health screenings. Peter Drucker once said, you can't manage something you don't measure. So we are very passionate about measuring. And then we give personalized care and innovative telemedicine services to all our partners. So like I said, your trusted partner in disease prevention and telemedicine. If you want one or such, you can go nowhere but Solace Wellness Clinic, a department of Solace Hospital. Let's delve straight into the presentation today. We are going to talk about corporate mental health. And we're also going to talk about some of the strategies we are going to use to improve on the well-being of employees in the corporate environment. Most of the feedback we get whenever we embark on these health education programs and our corporate wellness screenings is the fact that it's very bad that most organizations are going through a lot of stress. And today we are going to dissect or remove the... Yes, please.
Let me just confirm if our colleagues and our partners on call can also hear us. Please, can you confirm if you could hear us, please?
Good morning, this is Broad Ghana. We can hear you, please.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madam Sarah. So we are going to talk about corporate mental health and work-life balance, and then some of the strategies we are going to deploy to be able to achieve this aim. The importance of corporate mental health and stress management in any corporate institution cannot be overemphasized. But let's look at some of the reasons why this topic is very paramount for our discussion today. The first thing is that it's essential for employee well-being. The well-being of every employee encompasses their mental health as well. You can't dissociate the mental health of an employee from what the employee can do. In any case, our thinking all starts from the mind. So if you want to talk about the well-being of an employee, it's essential to talk about stress management and mental health. Secondly, it directly influences productivity, creativity, and job satisfaction. We'll be analyzing most of these things in detail as we go through the presentation. And unmanaged stress leads to health issues, absenteeism, high turnover, and then reduced performance. I know a couple of colleagues, a couple of friends who have left companies just because of the stress that they were exposed to in those corporate institutions. I'm sure if they had strategies that can help them cope with that stress, they would have still been probably working there. So we are going to delve into that this morning. And then proper stress management in any corporate space also gives a supportive and resilient and motivated workforce. So if you want all these things to tick in your corporate space, stress management and mental health cannot be overlooked. The objectives of today's programs are very clear. As Madam Sarah said, the first thing is about us understanding stress. If you don't know the root cause of a problem, how do you manage it? So we are going to do a root cause analysis of stress in the workplace. Most people say, I'm stressed. Then you ask them, what's stressing you? The main thing they talk about is our targets are high. We are not able to achieve them. But I can tell you, even the person sitting next to you in the office can be your source of stress. We are going to analyze all of this morning. And then we're also going to examine the impact of stress on employees and also its impact on the corporate environment as well. What is stress by way of definition? Most people say they are stressed, but when you ask them what is stress, then they give you all kinds of vague answers. But we are going to give you a very crystallized definition of stress this morning. And the definition states that it's very brief. Stress is any physical, emotional, and mental strain due to workplace pressures. So if you have any physical issues, we'll be examining them, emotional issues, and mental strain. And this is directly related to your corporate space or the pressures from your workplace. That is what we call corporate stress. I beg you, this morning we are talking about corporate stress. There are other stresses that can come from your family, your finances, your, the economy, the political system, galamsey, and all that. But we are, for the purpose of this presentation, we are going to talk just about corporate stress. That is why the definition is limited to the physical, emotional, and mental strain due to workplace. The stress here is the workplace pressures. And this could be related to job roles, organizational culture, and the work environment. And we'll be delving into each of this as we progress. And then the common sources of stress in any corporate environment are listed below. Like I said, if you don't know your source of stress, how do you manage it? In any incident committee I've sat, the first thing everybody does is what we call the root cause analysis. If there's an incident, the first thing we have to do is, what is the root cause? It's only when you know the roots, you can actually decipher what to do to solve it. So these are the commonest root causes of stress in the corporate environment. What are you doing here? So sorry. Okay. We have the workload as one of the commonest complaints of stress in any corporate environment. And this comes in the form of excessive task and tight deadlines. We are very, very akin to this, so I don't want to talk about that. And that, like I said at the beginning of the presentation, this is one of the first things anybody will tell you. Oh, I've been given a lot of work, I'm carrying a lot of load, and then the deadlines they've given me are so tight that I can't achieve them. And this is one of the reasons why most people vacate their jobs in most corporate environment. Role ambiguity.
I'm listening.
Role
You're
ambiguity.
lying. I will say what is the common distance of stress. I'm listening. My mind is there.
Our co-presenters. Our co-presenters, we are hearing you. All right then. So the second commonest cause of stress in a corporate space is what we call role ambiguity. Role ambiguity comes in the form of you've employed somebody to do a job and you haven't given the fellow a job description. When that happens, expectations becomes an issue and expectations become diffuse and muddled and people don't know what they are supposed to do. And this also leads to people don't knowing the responsibilities they are supposed to uphold and what have you. So once you employ somebody, the first thing you have to let them know is you are a client care manager, you are this, you are this. We are not saying that when issues spring up, we shouldn't take responsibility. But it's very important that in any corporate space, we get people to know what actually they are supposed to do. When the driver decides to be the mate, we have chaos. And when the mate also decides to be the driver, there can be chaos. Don't interpret this as political, but the driver is the driver and the mate is the mate. So everybody has his role in any corporate space. And this has to be clearly delineated. We also have work-life balance as one of the key causes of stress. We are going to talk about, I'm going to give you an illustrative way of looking at work-life balance at the end of the presentation. And I think that will help you better. But what do we mean by work-life balance? This simply means you balancing work and your personal life. Excuse me. Most people's life just hinges on work, work, work. When you take work out of their life, you get nothing of meaning. But life is not just about work. In as much as that's what brings food to our table, we are also supposed to pay attention to other things in our life. Our finances are very key. Our friends and family, very key. Our personal development is very key. And this is one thing most people don't even do. Most people, after finishing uni, the first thing they tell you is that they are done with education. Education is a daily thing. Personal development is something you have to do virtually every day. If I do a roll call now and ask people, what is the last book you've read on personal development? I'm going to be very disappointed. I know that. Most of the talks we've had, most people are not reading. Most of us are just feeding on a lot of junk on social media. We don't take books to read to improve on our appearance, our confidence, our leadership skills, our marketing skills, and what have you. Personal development is very key. And if your work is just focused solely on work, 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 you are not going to pay attention to these facets of your life. And that's going to cause challenges and stress for you. The other source of stress in any corporate space is job security. If you are not sure or there's no stability or career progression in your work, this can be a huge source of stress in any corporate space. Of course, you can't go to sleep if your job is not secure. So this is something we should look at in the corporate environment as well. Organizational changes that may come in the form of stress from mergers, acquisitions, or restructurings are also a very chief cause of stress in most companies. Recently, we have Airtel merging with Tigo, becoming Airtel Tigo. I'm sure Airtel had a CEO, Tigo also had a CEO. I don't think the two CEOs are going to work in this in the merged company. All these are forms of stress for the two CEOs that are involved. So whenever there are mergers, acquisitions, and restructurings, it brings a lot of stress to people because some people may have to lose their job, and then some people may have to even take different roles from the ones from the parent companies they came from. The impact of corporate stress on employees comes in the following manifestations. So we have the physical or health effects. Whenever you are stressed, the first thing you experience is what we call the physical or health effects. How does this manifest? The first one is headaches. When you have recurrent headaches, most people say I have migraine. The root cause of most headaches in corporate spaces is due to stress. So if you are an employee and you're having a lot of headache, try and do an audit of your stress levels. And if you're able to do a proper audit, and you're able to reduce it based on some of the strategies we are going to talk about today, I'm sure your headaches will go. The second thing is what we call chronic fatigue syndrome. All the time, people are tired. And they are tired because the job is overwhelming, their roles are not well defined, all the sources we talked about. When that happens, they chronically get very fatigued. And these are physical manifestations of stress. And we also have sleep disturbances. When you are stressed, you can't sleep. If your job is on the line, how can you sleep? If you don't know what you're supposed to do at work, how can you sleep? So sleep disturbances is one of the commonest physical manifestations of stress in the corporate space. We also have mental health effects as well, and this comes in the form of anxiety. Anxiety is when people don't know what tomorrow brings, and they become very anxious. Anxious in the sense that they lack predictability to life. They can't tell what will happen in the next hour, the next minute. So they become very anxious, and then they can't really take control of what is happening. And when this is not well managed, we can move to depression, where people lose control. They become very apathetic to life. Some people will even commit suicide and what have you. So depression is the mental effects that stress can actually pose for the corporate employee. And then burnout is when people just realize that, no, I don't even have the energy at all to do what I'm supposed to do. So it's over. So people get burnt out in stressful corporate environments. Work performance also suffers a lot when people are stressed. How does this manifest? The first one is reduced productivity. You have an A-star employee, but because of stress, they become very mediocre in their performance. If you don't manage stress well, the corporate or the total productivity of the company can actually plummet. And this is why this presentation is very important, not just for managers, but for employees as well, so that we learn some of the strategies that will help us to prevent that. And we have increased absenteeism. Absenteeism, I always say, is the allergy of HR managers. They don't like to see our excuse duties. If you don't want to see excuse duties, manage stress well. Because I can tell you that 90% of the excuse duties most doctors give to your employees are based on stress. They come, we do all the labs, malaria negative, typhoid negative, urine, everything is fine. The bottom line, they are stressed. And they tell you they can't work. And as much as sometimes we try to tell them, no, we can't give you the excuse duty. Sometimes there are very obvious signs that this person needs some day or two off. So if you are in a management position or leadership position in any corporate space, how you manage absenteeism is by making sure that your employees are not stressed. And by doing that, you are going to cut a majority, 90% of the excuses, which you don't like, from coming to you. The other way stress also impacts on the corporate space is high turnover. Like I said, people leave companies mostly because of stress. I have a lot of friends who are bankers, and they will tell you that they left the bank because, oh, there was so much stress. This cliche that the Nigerian banks, they give a lot of stress. So the turnover there is terrible. I had a lot of friends who used to work at GT Bank. Sorry for mentioning names, though. And the next time I went there, none of them were there. Then when I did an audit, they said the stress there is not easy. I beg, there's stress everywhere. We don't want this kind of turnover. It doesn't help with planning and everything. That is why these presentations are very important, and we'll learn some of the ways to manage stress so that employees can have a better tenure of service for their corporate institutions. Okay. How do we recognize signs of stress in the workplace? We just talked about the physical, mental, and then the work performance manifestations of stress. But in the workplace itself, how do you recognize signs of stress in the workplace? Okay. So it can manifest itself behaviorally. And how does that happen? We have changes in work performance. We've already talked about productivity. When somebody is stressed, you will realize that there will be a change in performance of the individual. Their productivity will take a nosedive. So that's one of the ways you can tell that an employee is stressed. You can also have increased absenteeism. I think I've mentioned this earlier. So that's the second thing. And they also have conflict with colleagues. If you have somebody, every light thing becomes more of an irritation. It's possible the fellow is stressed. The fellow's heart is in his mouth. The little thing you say, they get irritated, and people going through stress are very irritative, and then the little thing you do upsets them, and they have a lot of conflicts with their colleagues. People are not born to be very contentious and all that. They are made that way sometimes through their environment. One of the things in our environment, in the corporate space, that makes people fighters or create conflict is when they are stressed. So if you're able to address stress, all these behavioral signs will be nipped in the bud. We also have emotional signs that may manifest when people are stressed in the corporate space. And how does this happen? I talked about irritability. And we can also have mood swings. At one juncture, the fellow is smiling with you. The next juncture, the fellow is angry. When you see somebody who has this unstable mood swings, one of the chief culprits or root causes is stress. And then there's also lack of motivation. When people are overly stressed, they are not motivated to do anything. So one key way you can motivate people in any environment is by making sure that you diffuse the stress that they are going through. We also have physical signs. And one of the physical signs is frequent illnesses. One may ask, how does stress lead to frequent illnesses? Your immune system works based on the fact that it's the main tool that helps your body to fight infection. The immune system works at its best when you are not stressed. Stress is one of the main immune diminishing arsenals in the body. When you are stressed, it depresses your immune system. So what that means is that elevated stress leads to a depressed or decreased immune system. And when the immune system is depressed, what happens is that ordinarily, infections which normally your body would have been able to fight, example, common cold, cough, sore throat, and all that, you now start having them. So if you are somebody all the time you're having common cold, sore throat, and all that, check your stress. So the immune system gets depressed when you are stressed, and that's what leads to the frequent illnesses. And that is one of the reasons why we end up giving a lot of the excuse duties as well. So stress management is something we should take very, very seriously. And we also have changes in sleep pattern. Like I said, if people are overly stressed, they can't sleep. Someone said that the softest pillow is a clear conscience. If your conscience is not clear about what you are doing at work, there's so much muddling of the workplace with all kinds of issues. You are going to have issues sleeping at night, and that's something we should look at. Chronic fatigue syndrome is something that manifests in the workplace when people are overly stressed. You meet people and they tell you, I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired. This is because they've been subjected to so much stress that they can't handle. So chronic fatigue is one of the ways we recognize stress in the corporate space. How does a corporate culture helps in helping stress management? There are several ways we can incorporate a culture in the corporate environment that can help us to manage stress. One of the ways is by creating a very supportive environment in the corporate space, and that can be in the form of positive and inclusive work culture. There are workplaces where information flow is unidirectional. Unidirectional in the sense that it's from the top to the bottom. But as a management, whatever you are trying to effect, you need a team to be able to do it. Leadership is just making sure you're able to fire people, their passions, their aspirations, and align them to the team's goals for achievement. So if as a management, all the time, you go and sit and have your meetings, you don't involve where the execution is, and you bring down policies for your staff to follow, you are going to have a revolt. So what happens is that you make your decisions, you tell the staff to do it, and because they were not included in the decision-making process, you are going to have a lot of rebuttal, a lot of friction. And you can prevent all this by making sure that your work culture is more inclusive. You should get feedback from them. Whatever you are going to implement, discuss it with your employees. And when that is done and they fail part of the process, implementation becomes very, very easy. Some management practices that can help us to reduce stress in the corporate space is effective communication. If people are not clear on what they are going to do, execution suffers. So it's very important that in the corporate space, we are very clear with our communication. If it's memos we are sending, it shouldn't be ambiguous. It should state clearly and crystally what you want to communicate. And if this is done, we are not going to create stress. People will not have ambiguity about what you are trying to do, and then that will limit the amount of stress or confusion you are going to have in the corporate space. So communication should be very clear, and the lines of communication too should be very clear. The lines of reporting should be very clear. Nobody should just get up and walk to the managing director and say, I'm going to report this or that. We have the leaders, the managers, and then the support staff and before employees. So an employee doesn't jump all these people and go up. When that happens, There will be usurpation of duties, and people will not feel they are being used properly, and that can create a lot of stress for the corporate environment. Employee recognition is something we should take very seriously. I know most of our partners here at the end of the year do a lot of recognition programs for people. There are 4 things in this life when you are able to do to any individual. You win their heart regardless of who they are, no matter how hardened their heart is. I've acronymed it LIRA. LIRA. L is for love. If you love any individual, love is the foundation for everything. Every virtue starts with love. If you treat your employees with love, you win their hearts. So we should love all our employees. Employees will love their managers. Managers will love their... When there's hatred in any organization, forget it. There's no unity, and we are going to have challenges. The next thing is, forgive me, I have to plug my battery. I've just gotten a notification that I'll go off. Let me prevent it so that I don't go offline. Just 1 minute. Okay, so like I was saying, employee recognition is very important. And I talked about LIRA. The first one was love. The second thing we should give any individual is the I, which is the making people feel important. Most of us go to corporate spaces looking for people. We see the security man. We don't even greet them. Then we jump straight into the reception. Nobody's there. Then we come back to the security man and say, where is your this or where is that? Unfortunately, you never showed any respect to the security man when you were entering. Why do you come back asking for directions? So it's very important we ensure that we treat people with respect. And when we respect people, we are able to get them to do what we are supposed to do. So respect, importance, and love. And then the last one is the appreciation. Appreciation is what is actually linked to this. When we appreciate people for what they do, we are not just using them as doormats to step into our doors. Annually, do we take time to recognize our employees? Do we recognize employees that are performing at their best? If this is being done, it fosters teamwork. It also makes people feel appreciated, loved, respected, like I said, and that can garner them to be productive and give you results you cannot imagine. A fair workload distribution is very important in any corporate space. If your workload is such that you share it based on who you love and who you hate, I can tell you that you are going to have a lot of stress from your subordinates. So let's make sure that in the corporate space, when we are sharing the work, it's not based on, this is my friend, this is not my friend, so I kill you because I don't like you. Once we do that, as a management, we are going to have issues with our employees. Employee engagement is also very key, and this is also linked to the inclusive work culture. And involving employees in decision-making is something you cannot overlook. And if you involve them in all decisions that you are making, it makes the implementation process very seamless for you as a manager or as a corporate entity. And then fostering teamwork is something we should also do in the workplace. There's this definition or code that there's no I, the letter I in team. If we are all working in silos, how will we know if one of us is suffering? It's very, very important we make sure that teamwork is fostered in every corporate environment. That way, we're able to identify people who may be undergoing stress and then help them. But if we all come to work and we are all in our cubicles and not caring about our teams, what happens is that people go through a lot of stress we may not know, and then the unimaginable happens and we are all shocked that, oh, we didn't know he was going through this, whatever. We'll keep talking. But if we had actually worked as a team, we'll be able to calm those who have issues and help them on their corporate journey. These are also some strategies we can also look at the corporate level, and work-life balance is one of them. That's why I'm very happy the topic for this presentation incorporates that. Encouraging breaks is something we should take very seriously. Whenever I see this, especially with naps, I get a rebuttal from most, what do you call it, HR managers. I'm going to talk about that later. If you are working and you are tired, please take a break. If not, you're going to get stressed. And once you are stressed, the issue is that anytime you are stressed, there's a part of brain that we call the prefrontal lobe. The prefrontal lobe is what is important for your cognitive functions, your executive cognitive functions. The executive cognitive functions happen and they help you with decision making and then thinking and all the things that you execute. Stress diminishes the power of your executive functions. So when you take a break, you allow the body to rest and then restore. And by doing that, you're able to make better decisions and not bring a lot of errors to the table. So we encourage employees to take breaks when they are, what do you call it, tired, either during the day, the month. And you should also take your vacations. There are some places where people don't take their vacations because they think they will lose money. You may get the money, but later you use that money to take care of your health. So making sure you go on vacation is very, very, very important. So take breaks. And then we should also have flexible working hours. If the COVID-19 pandemic didn't teach us anything, there's something that we call the hybrid work policies or options. During COVID, most companies were still working because they allowed some of their employees to stay at home and still work. So we can leverage on the power of technology and make sure that if somebody doesn't need to be physically present at work, why don't they just stay at home and do their work? For those partners in Accra, you all know how when it rains in Accra, some people have difficulties accessing the central business districts. I always have issues with you, those who live in Kaswa. I always make fun of you that whenever it rains, you people, you live in overseas, you can't come to town. So it's important that as corporate institutions, we look at employees who maybe are living very far away, who we can get them on this remote or hybrid work option so that they don't have to drive 3-4 hours to come to work and drive 3-4 hours back. By the time they are at the workplace after that stress of all the nonsense from the, what's the name? The trotro drivers and what have you, the brain would have been overhyped to even think and do any better work at the workplace. So let's look at these hybrid or remote work policies and also flexible working hours for employees, and that can help them reduce a lot of the stress they are going through. Workload management is very key. I'll talk about this in the next slide, so I don't want to belabor on it. And we should also have realistic goal setting. There's this acronym called SMART. If you are able to make sure that your goals are SMART, it helps you to be able to achieve them. If you know your target this year is 10,000, you're going to tell your employees next year we have to achieve 1 million, then you should really be having very concrete evidence or measures as to how you are going to achieve them. So whatever goals we set, we should make sure that those goals are SMART. And when that happens, it will not bring a lot of stress on our employees. Delegating responsibilities is something I cannot talk so much about. One of the effective attributes of a manager is making sure that if he or she is not at the workplace, work still goes on. But what do we see? Go to most of the public institutions and they will tell you that if my boss is not there, nothing happens. If Mr. So and so is not there, nothing happens. It means that Mr. So and so is just a system walking around as a silo. But we are supposed to build systems to work for us. If we don't build systems so that people plug into them and work, we are going to have a disjointed place of work, such that when even one place is not there, one person is not there, work suffers. So the mark of an effective manager is you being able to delegate work to your subordinates. If you don't do that and everything you do yourself, you are going to get stressed. A manager or a leader, your job is to make the right decisions. And once the decisions are done right, execution takes place. But if after making the right decisions, you are still the one executing them, we have a problem. You are going to get stressed. So as leaders and managers, actually leaders, we are supposed to make the right decisions. And then management makes our decisions or things right. So delegation is something you should take very seriously. Don't do everything by yourself. If you do that, you are going to spread yourself so thin. And what happens is that when you do that, the things that you are supposed to do are going to suffer because you are worrying yourself with things that other people could have done for you. I'm going to talk about some matrix that will help you understand this so that you know how delegation is very key in stress management. We should also have supporting systems in the corporate space. And how do we get it? We should access counseling services. If some of our employees are having issues with stress, what avenues do we have for them to be able to, help them? Peer support networks are very key. And then in Solace Hospital, we have a clinical psychologist. So after the presentation, if you think most of the things we've talked about, you still need to get a clinical psychological consult. Our number will be displayed so that you can let us know, then we help you. We should also have mentoring programs for people. When people join us, do we assign them to mentors? Why is this important? Mentors have gone through the landmines. They know where all the mines are. If we don't mentor people, they are going to repeat mistakes that we made, and that's not going to be good. It's just like reinventing the wheel. So it's important we mentor people when they join our institutions, and by doing that, we help them navigate the corporate path and not make the mistakes that we made when we join. So mentorship is very key in any corporate environment. I talked about taking breaks. This is one of the slides. I always have issues with HR managers. When I tell the HR managers that their employees should take naps at work, they say, where? And some people even tell, where are they going to take the naps? This is where you're supposed to take it, on top of your table. We are not going to bring you sofas or beds to take the naps. Just take it on top of your table. Most people have a 1 hour break in most organizations in Ghana. Now, what do we do with it? You can effectively eat within 30 minutes. And after eating, what happens is that the remaining 30 minutes should be used for a nap, an afternoon nap. Physiologically, this is important because immediately after a meal, there are some hormones that your body produces to help you relax. One of those hormones is called serotonin. And when serotonin goes up, it's converted into melatonin, and melatonin is the hormone for sleep. So you realize that immediately you finish having lunch, you start feeling sleepy. Your body is telling you that take a break, take a 30-minute nap. Why is this important? It's important because once serotonin and melatonin are in contention, blood flow is diverted from your brain to your gut or stomach because you've loaded it with food. Some of you will take gobe, Kofi Brookman, and all that. Those of you who are doing 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, it depends. So once food enters the stomach, blood flow is diverted from the brain to the stomach. So it means that as an individual, your cognitive functions are going to slow down. So you realize that it's during lunch that people say all kinds of stupid things because blood is not going to the brain anymore. It's now going to the stomach. So you make gut decisions. So instead of sleeping, because the body has told us to sleep, what do? We talk about Galamsey. We insult Bruno Fernandes and call him a rabbit because he's not scoring goals. We talk about all kinds of things. We talk about bets we missed. We talk about politics. You are at work, please. So it's important we take naps. And why are naps important? The importance of sleep cannot be overemphasized. When you go to countries like France, during their break time, they actually close their offices, go and have their lunch, take their wines, and sleep and come back. Has the economy of France done poorly than our economy? It's all because of these reasons. Number one, sleep enhances your cognitive function. If your brain is tired and you take that 30-minute nap, I can tell you do wonders than somebody who sits the whole length of the day. So you're able to think better when you have enough sleep. And it also increases productivity. Why would productivity increase if your cognitive function is firing on all cylinders? And it also helps you make better decisions. Like I said, after taking a nap, the body will have taken time to digest whatever you are eating, and then blood flow will revert back to the brain, and you can make better decisions. Even if you go and sit on the decks with all that reduced blood flow to your brain, you are going to create a lot of errors. So if you want, as managers, check and see when a lot of errors are made in the workplace. It's normally after lunch because people are not thinking. And it also reduces absenteeism. Sleep helps you to restore your body. Like I said, if you don't sleep well, your immune system too will go down. So people fall sick easily when they don't have enough sleep. And the sleep I'm talking about is not even at the workplace. Even at home, how many hours do we sleep? If you don't sleep well, you're going to have challenges. If you want to know the importance of sleep, ask yourself how you feel anytime you go for an all-night service. The next day, what do you feel? Most people come down with common cold. They have headache, irritability for days. That tells you the importance of sleep. Sleep deprivation will kill you in less than 10 days. If you don't sleep for less than 10 days, you die. But people have gone 40 days. At least Jesus has taught us that one, that we can go 40 days. I'm not saying go and try it. Some people tried it and died. 40 days, 40 nights, the man did not eat. He did not die. But if you don't sleep for at least 10 days, you will die. So if chronically you are denying or depriving yourself of sleep, you're actually killing yourself slowly. And most of the metabolic conditions we are having currently, hypertension, diabetes, and all what have you, they are all due to stress that comes as a result of sleep. And then if you're able to sleep and rest well, you are going to prevent all these things. It's also improve on your emotional regulation. If you sleep well, you're not going to get jittery, you're not going to get irritable, and that helps a lot. And it also enhances creativity and innovation. Most of the people who discovered things in the world, most of these things happened when they were well rested in a very cool, serene environment. This part of our environment is so rowdy, so noisy, so we are not making any discoveries. But most people who are making advances in science, biomedicine, and all that, go to their environment and you realize that they have very serene environments, and that's what is helping them do these discoveries. Already, we are not getting food to eat. How can you be thinking of what to, discover? And then safety at work is very important. If you are a driver and you don't have enough sleep, and you are carrying your manager to a place, your CEO to a place, you are going to get an accident. So this is something, even as corporate leaders, we should encourage our subordinates to do. The help of you, the CEO, is in the hand of the one driving you. So if the fellow doesn't sleep well at home or at work and is driving you around, you can imagine what will happen. And most of the accidents that happen in this country happen in the nights. Because instead of the drivers sleeping at night, they want to drive, and then that is where we have the accidents. I'm going to talk about what we call the Eisenhower matrix or matrix. And this is something you can use to prioritize your task. Prioritization, I said I'll talk about in the next slide. So I'm using this matrix to explain it. For those who know Eisenhower, he was one of the former presidents of the United States, I think the 34th president. And he designed this matrix or matrix. He divided tasks into what we call urgent and then not urgent, and also important and not important. So when you look at the graph there, if tasks are important and urgent, he says you should do them. I'll give you examples of those tasks in the next slide. If tasks are important but not urgent, you should decide or schedule them. So even though you have to do it, decide and schedule them for another date. If the tasks are not important and not but urgent, you delegate them. So this is where I was talking about for managers. Important and urgent tasks, not important but urgent tasks, please delegate them. You see some of the examples. And then we should also delete tasks that are not important and not urgent. But what do we see? We manage a crisis all the time. Most of the time we are in this zone because instead of planning and executing tasks, scheduling them, we don't. We leave them here. Then before we realize they become important and urgent. So if you want to prevent crisis, this is called the crisis stage. Make sure you plan, schedule tasks, and work towards them so that by the time they come to their deadline, you're able to achieve them. If you don't do that, all your tasks that are important but not urgent sip into or gravitate into your urgent and important tasks. And all the time, you are in a very crisis situation. And please delegate all tasks that are not important but they are urgent to your subordinates to do. If you don't do that, you don't get the time to plan and then do the urgent and important tasks. These are some of the examples I can give for this matrix that we talk about. So the important and urgent tasks are things you manage. These are where management people come. You have to manage pressing problems. If there's a crisis situation, you have to manage. If there's a deadline, if you sat down for something to be here and you didn't manage it, it will rush here and then it becomes a deadline for you. And then reworking and all that. These are things that are important but not urgent. You have to plan, you have to prevent, you have to prepare, and then personal development. You realize that personal development is also here. Personal development is not urgent and it's not, but it's important. But because it doesn't show itself as urgent, most people don't take care of it. So you have to plan to personally develop yourself. If you don't do that, another example is exercise. Exercise is not an urgent thing. It won't kill you if you don't do it today. But over the years, if you don't exercise and then your blood pressure goes up, your sugar goes up, then it becomes an urgency because all the time you have to be seeing your doctor. So when we take time to plan our lives, schedule things, schedule your exercise, do it, schedule your personal development, do it. You don't manage this crisis. And this is the philosophy that Solace wants all of us to understand, making sure that we are not clever. Clever people are here. They think that, oh, when it comes, I'll master, I'll manage it. You are clever, you are managing problems. But wise people operate here. Wise people make sure that they what? They plan, they prepare, and make sure they prevent the crisis. So please, this is where Eisenhower wants you to operate it and not the crisis. And then the distractions, the interruptions, the email, the phone calls, if you have to make a call and it's not information that is so high level, you can let somebody else do it for you. And then the trivia, the TV, Premier League, entertainment, Netflix, all kinds of scrolling on Facebook and Instagram, they are all here. It doesn't add much if the content you are taking is gibberish. So we need to avoid these things so that we can pay more attention to things here so that you don't move to the other number one position. I hope this is very clear. Then there's a syndrome I call I want to live in my own house syndrome. This syndrome has killed people. I know people who died because of this syndrome. You hear that there's some cheap land at Kuntunsi, there you go and buy, because I want to live in my own house. You hear there's some cheap land in Kaswa, you go and buy. Why? I want to live in my own house. It's good to live in your own house. But if you are working in Adabraka, the central business district of Accra, why would you want to stay all the way in Kuntunsi or wherever and drive 3-4 hours? That's if you don't wake up early. Or if you want to beat the traffic, you wake up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. to come to work. You're not going to sleep well. Let me give you practical examples. I had a patient who came to my office and then the blood pressure was above 200. It was actually about 220 over 110. And when I did an audit, I realized that he was staying somewhere in Kaswa. And I said, why is your blood pressure so high? He said, I can't sleep. If I have to get to the office, I have to wake up by 4 a.m. And then I said, fine. So you wake up at 4 a.m. to get to the office at what time? Around 6. So it means that from 6 to 8, you are actually doing that. Then when you go home? The same day, I have to leave early. Or if I join the 5 p.m. traffic, I get home at 10. So if you get home at 10, you sleep 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. By 3 o'clock, you are up. You are sleeping less than the 7 hours the WHO or the 7 to 8 hours the WHO has recommended. And that is why your BP is high. He relocated and he didn't need to take medications. I'm not saying that you shouldn't live in your own house, but if it's so far from your work and it's taking a toll on your life because your quality of life depends on the sleep you have, your quality of life depends on the stress you reduce on the road, please rent it out to somebody and top up the money and get a place that is closer. Because if you even do a fiscal evaluation of it, can you imagine how much fuel you burn every day? The time you are wasting in traffic is not worth it. So I'm not discouraging you from having your own house. Build it. But if it's so far from where you work, please rent it out. Or you can go there every weekend and get a place, a cheaper place in town. Then during the weekend, you go and then relax there. But if you want to stay there at all costs, it will come at the cost of your health. We're almost done, please. So you those who are probably jittery, promoting mental health in the workplace, I'm going to run now. What are the things we can do? Wellness programs. We are having one right now. This is a wellness program we are having, proudly supported by Metropolitan Health and then the Solace Wellness team. There are also other things we can do. Meditation, yoga are things you can do, and relaxation exercises. And we should also have a healthy lifestyle. How do we have a healthy lifestyle? Physical activity is very important. If I do a roll call now, how many of you have exercised during the past 1 week? I'm going to have silence. It's very important. Meanwhile, you've all reported to work and you are working. Health is wealth. Don't neglect exercise. Exercise is category 2 in the Eisenhower matrix. Plan it and execute it. If you don't plan it, one day it will become a crisis, and the crisis will manifest as hypertension, diabetes, and you have to take medication. Solace, we don't like that. We want to prevent that. So that's why you have to be wise and not clever. So please, physical activity is very important. Most of you work at places where there are elevators. You don't use them. Staircases. You don't use them all the time. You are using what? The elevator. Please. I've told most HR people to ban staff who use the elevator. They should use the staircases. And this will improve on the physical activity that they are doing to stay in shape and to stay in good health. So if you're on the 9th floor, please walk. It will do a whole lot of good than using the elevator. And we should encourage healthy eating. Your diet is your health. What you eat can either kill you or build you. So you can actually dig your grave with your mouth. It's important we pay attention to what we eat. If we end up eating all the junk, diabetes will come, hypertension will come, high cholesterol will come, obesity will come. And if I want to talk about that, we can't finish now. And then we should have adequate sleep. I've talked about the importance of sleep, so I'm not going to belabor on that. How do we build resilience in employees? Workshop and training programs are very important, and that is what we are doing today. So for our partners, we encourage that anytime we have sessions like this, let your employees partake, because we share very valuable information. Empowerment is very key. We should encourage autonomy. We should build people to be able to work in systems. So as managers, we are supposed to work on systems, and then employees work in the systems. But if managers end up working in the system, we are going to have issues, because they are going to get stressed, and then we'll not get the best out of them. And then we should also provide the opportunities for skill development. If people are skilled at what they are doing, it builds their competence, and this also builds their confidence and reduces the stress that they go through at the workplace. Supportive leadership is very important, and this can happen by modeling resilience to our employees. And we should also provide support. I've talked about the clinical psychologists that we have, or if you want one at any of your hospitals, please ask. It's not a weakness to seek for support. It's a show of strength. So if you are going through a stressful situation, please seek support. And then we should also create supportive environment to open communications through, I've talked about this already, regular check-ins with your staff to know what's happening. And then we should also have feedback loops and open door policies. And then we should also train managers to identify stress. At least today we've known how stress manifests itself. If we know, let's try and identify it and manage it appropriately. And we should provide appropriate support as well. And then promote mental health like we are doing today. And then employee resources are also key. We have what we call the Employee Assistance Program, EAPs. All corporate institutions should get this as part of their corporate culture. And after this presentation, you can also decide that you're going to do a case study of what? Successful corporate wellness programs and their impact. If after the program, you realize that, oh, you want to take a section of it and implement in your organization, that's fine. That can be a case study. And then we can help you do that. And if you also want to look at how the workload management is effective and its outcomes, you can also do that and see how it is. And we can also measure success through continuous improvement. The Japanese have a saying that Kaizen, continuous and never-ending improvement. We can't become perfection. We can't become perfect. Perfection is not a destination. It's a journey. But if we keep working on it, we'll get there one day. Peter Drucker once said that what gets measured gets managed. What gets measured gets managed. Peter Drucker is one of the management gurus of, I can say all time. He's very good. I know most of you know him. So we can't have programs without having metrics about it. How do we get metrics whenever we have programs like this? You can do employee satisfaction surveys. And for Solace, we are very keen about metrics. So at the end of the presentation, we're actually going to let you rate us and let us know how this program was impactful for you. We can do productivity metrics as well, and then absenteeism metrics. All these are pointers to stress. So if you are in HR and you're able to measure all this, the number of excuses, you can even measure the number of excuses that come to you. If before you implemented the program, you know the number of excuses. After the implementation of the program, you also want to know how many excuses still come, even though you've implemented the program. That is what we are talking about. What you measure is what helps you to manage what you measure. No measurement, no management. And then the feedback is also very, very important when we want to improve after programs like this. Okay, so my call to action, I'm almost done, is that we should encourage participation in programs like this. There's a saying that a brain cell once stretched does not return to its original size or length. Once you are exposed to something, you become different. The only thing that will change you in life are two. In the next 5 years, you remain the same person unless two things happen. The first one is what you learn. So if from now till 5 years, you don't learn anything, you still remain the same person. The next thing that will change your life in the next 5 years is your association. Your association. You are the average of the 5 people in your life. So look at your friendships, and that will tell you where you are. So if you want your life to change, expose your mind to useful information. That is why this morning I've taken my time to go through all this. And I know you've taken some nuggets of information that is going to help you in your corporate journey. We should get employees involved in these kind of presentations. And then we should also, as leaders, promote mental health in our corporate organizations. I'll leave you with some quotes. Then after that, we're done. Most of the time we say we are stressed, we are stressed, we are stressed. Is this really true? Well, let's look at some of the quotes. It's not stress that kills us. It's our reaction to it. There's a life quote that say, what is it? Is it E plus event plus R? Yeah, so E plus R is equal to O. E is the event plus R, which is the response, equal to your outcome. Most of the events that happen in our life, we cannot really predict or manage them. But it's not the event that normally kills us, but it's our reaction to them or our response to them that determines our outcome. Let me give you a classical example. We had issues with men's gold some time ago. I have very close relatives that died out of that incident. But there are also people who are still alive, who've learned lessons from not trying to make quick money, and they're alive. And they said, okay, it was a mistake. I've accepted it, I move on. Others said, no, I can't take it. They died. The event was the same, men's gold. The reaction, some people died, some did not die. Some are even doing better than they were with men's gold because they responded better. So in life, our reaction is more important than the events that plague us. So it's not about what happens to us that matters, it's how we respond to it. Because most of the things that happen in life, most of the shit that happens, we have no control over it. So it's not stress that kills us, it's our reaction to it. This is by Hans said. You must learn to let go, release the stress. You were never in control anyway. Some people hold things so much. You grudge everything, every small thing you don't want to let go. Please, you are not in control of everybody in this world. So let go, and then you will be happier. And also, much of the stress that people feel doesn't come from having too much to do. It comes from not finishing what we started. We are a country of good starters, but not good finishers. I'm not sounding political. The Sagleme housing project is there for us to see. If we had finished it, it would have improved our physical situation. We did it. So it's lying there, rotten there. So sometimes it's not that we are stressed because we have so much to do, but it's just that we do so many things, we don't even finish it. So at the end of the day, we get stressed because you don't get any impact from the things you are doing. So don't start and stop, start and finish. And that can be a stress reliever. Adapting the right attitude can convert a negative stress into a positive one. It's related to the first one I told you. Your response or your reaction is very important. The greatest mistake you can make in life is to be continually fearing you will make one. Don't be so anxious about life that you don't want to try anything. Everything you do in life is risky. And if you take risk, that is when you can get the results you want. So don't be so fearful of the future. That doesn't help us. And then also, it's not the load that breaks you down. I love this one. It's not the load that breaks you down. It's the way you carry it. If I tell you to go and cut down a tree right now, and you rush and go and pick an axe or a cutlass, you eventually cut it. But if somebody goes to pick a chainsaw, he will cut that tree in less time. Why am I giving this analogy? AI has come. I have friends who don't even know what ChatGPT is. I have friends who don't know what Canva is. I have friends who don't know what ClickUp is. But the Harvard School of Business has this about AI. They said that AI will not replace humans. That's artificial intelligence. It will not replace humans. But humans with AI will replace humans without AI. If you are a manager, you are a business, you are a leader, and you are not leveraging on current technology, you are going to have issues. And very soon, those who are leveraging on those technologies will replace you and you go extinct. So evolve with the times, because you may have a lot of things to do. But if you know the tools you can use to do those things, it's not the load that will break your neck, but the way you carry it. That's the essence of this quote. And then the best way to appreciate your job is to imagine yourself without one. Most of us are very negative about our work. Oh, I don't like this place. It's too stressful. It's too that. It's too that. Please, have you ever imagined yourself if you didn't have that job? Let's be a bit empathetic. Let's be a bit positive. So the best way to appreciate your job is to imagine yourself without one. And if the 8 days is a gift, this is a funny one. If each day is a gift, I would like to know where I can return my Mondays. Nobody wants to go to work Monday. So that's the essence of it, just to give you a humorous touch at the end. So we are almost done. Let's see. This what I told you I was going to give you to illustrate the work-life balance. We have health, work, spirit, friends, and family. And if you look at them critically, under normal conditions, when I'm doing this presentation, I want to make it interactive. But because of time, I'll just take my time to go through it quickly. If you look at the health ball, or it's made of what? Glass. The work is made of rubber. The spirit is made of glass. Friends and family is made of glass, and family is made of glass. Now, in life, we are juggling all these balls at the same time. Our responsibility is to make sure we don't let any of them fall down. But what do? Most of us pay attention to just the work ball and then neglect the other ones. But what do you see? Your work is made of rubber. Virtually all the rest are made of glass. This morning, if I do a roll call, most of you are at work. But if I ask, how many of you are very proactive about your diet? I will not get very good responses. If I ask, how many of you have exercised this week? I will not get very good responses. But this morning, the 98 people or 100 people who have joined us, you are all at work. So it means that we pay so much attention to our work. It's good. But unfortunately, without good health, you can't work. There's a saying that, oh, me told Timo, I'll be very replacing me. It's very true. So it's important that we take care of our work, all right, but we also make sure that we have other aspects of our work we need to take care of. If not, if we over-concentrate on our work, I know people whose marriages have suffered because of their work. People who have died because they were so much into their work, they didn't have time to exercise. They didn't have time to take care of themselves. And then they died. So work, when it falls down, it will bounce back. Most of you are corporate, excuse my language, prostitutes. You've worked at different companies. All because when you drop here, you resurface here. When you drop here, you resurface here. But when your health drops, it won't bounce back. Some people, when it drops, that's the end of it. So it's important we make sure that all these balls that we have there, we juggle them. Don't pay so much premium to a ball that's made of rubber and treat a ball that is made of glass as if it doesn't matter. Because that one, when it drops, you're going to have issues. So pay attention to your health. And what are we talking about health this morning? Your mental health is very, very important. And if you need a support system or a psychologist, let us know to help you. I'm going to give you a video. I've talked so much, and sometimes you need elders to drum home your message. This, one of the last slides I'll present, is a video. After that, we will be done, and I'll open the floor together with Sarah for your questions. So please watch this video. It's by the former president of Nigeria, the Olusegun Obasanjo. At the age of 85, he was still playing football. Most of us, our parents die at 55, 60, and all that. Why was he able to live to this age? I'm going to truncate the video for the purpose of time, so I'll be skipping a portion so that we'll get the essence of the message.
Hi, Doc. Doc, can you hear me? Doc, if you can hear me, there's no sound to it.
We'll ask them to remember.
Forgive me, I'm told the sound went off at some point. So it's a video that was captured for the former president of Nigeria. Now you can hear me, please.
Yes,
Now
I
you
can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the age of 85, he was still playing football. And I was saying that most of us, our parents at 50, 60, they are gone. Why was he able to live to this age? The video captures that essence at the end. So I'm going to truncate it for the purpose of time so that you get the essence of it. But he was playing football at the age of 85. Obasanjo is still alive, for your information. Yeah.
Very nice. Back to that's it. To remember, ask them. I will ask them to remember what I call grams. Grams. 1, diet. 2, rest. 3, exercise. 4, medical examination, medical attention. And 5, social interaction.
So this was the former president of Nigeria who gave us an acronym called DREMS, D-R-E-M-S. He's saying that to be able to get to where he is, you need to pay attention to your diet. You need to rest. I talked about the importance of sleep. So that's the rest. And then you also need to exercise. Exercise is very key. The benefits of exercise, if I want to talk about, will not finish. Then the next one was the medicals. How many of us take advantage of the corporate medical screenings that our organizations do? Or how many of us even voluntarily go and say, I want to do a medical screening? We own very expensive cars. We send those cars every 3 months for oil changes and all kinds of things. And the body that is working to do all this possible, we neglect it. And we don't balance our life well. We've lost very serious people in this world because they didn't balance their life well. I don't want that to be the story of any of us listening to this program. That's why work-life balance is very important. So your diets, your rests, your exercise, your medicals, and then your social interaction. We should be able to interact with each other. Through interaction, we can share our problems with people, and then when they have solutions, they can help us. So this is the message Obasanjo said. So if you think some small boy is sitting behind a computer and talking plenty, you will not listen. I have an elder to speak to you. And if you still say, oh, after all this, I don't have time, I have a code for you here. Even a tanker that carries several gallons of fuel takes time to refuel itself. So you, the individual, are you refueling yourself? So conclusion, as we conclude on our journey from stress to success, remember that cultivating mental wellness within our corporate environment is not just an individual responsibility, but a collective mission. By prioritizing mental health, we pave the way for a thriving workplace where every team member feels valued, supported, and equipped to reach their full potential. And together with Solace Wellness Clinic, Metropolitan Health Insurance, and all our partners, let's foster a culture of well-being, resilience, and success in corporate Ghana. Solace, we pay attention to everything we do because we believe that your brand is what your customer says about you. We will be very grateful. My boss is watching this presentation. He would like to know your responses. If after the presentation you think anything we said here is something you think your neighbor or your colleague should hear, kindly rate us from a scale of 0 to 10. How do you think this presentation was impactful to you? So please go to your chat boxes and just put the number 0 to 10. If you think all what I said was noise, give me 0. But know that the next time I won't present. But if you think there are some things I said that were helpful, oh, it was a good presentation, and you even want it to be presented to somebody else, don't bother, just give me a 10 so that my boss can let me do most of this. If not, I'll lose my job. So it's just to get feedback from you because, like I said, your brand is what your customer says about you. And we are marking the customer service week as well. So let's get feedback from our customers. And then thank you for helping us improve when you do this. So at Solace, we leave you with a quote: a clever person solves a problem and a wise person avoids it. I want all of us to be wise. So all the strategies we discussed today, Let's implement them and let's be wise and not clever. And remember the Eisenhower matrix. Make sure you plan your things and be in the quadrant 2 so that it don't become a crisis for you. So with Metropolitan Health Insurance as our proud sponsor, I want to say I'm very delighted to have you all this morning. We had maximum participation and I'm really delighted. If there's an opportunity for us to do this presentation for you again, we will do it for you. And it's not just for, what do you call it? Mental health. We are in the Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Solace is sponsoring talks for corporate institutions. So if you want a talk to be done for you, kindly contact Metropolitan Health Insurance, and together with them, they pay us very well when we do talks for them. So when they call us, we run. So kindly contact them and we'll do your corporate health talk on breast cancer. We did one for Marriott Hotel yesterday and it was marvelous. They gave the whole team a buffet. So that tells you what we did. So we are always there for you through your Metropolitan Health Insurance. Once again, I'm grateful. Madam Sarah, my voice is gone. Kindly take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Daniels. Thank you so much. We are very grateful for this insightful talk. Partners, clients, I hope this session has been so insightful for you. We have a question on the chat, so Doc will take the question before we wrap up. So there's a question from Foley Buckner. He says, can workplace stress be increased when HR has a poor remuneration policy? i.e., the pay is woefully inadequate compared amount of work required for roles, employees' revenue generation is not rewarded, and cost of living concerns of the employee is not addressed. When one's time, commitment, and revenue generation is not adequately rewarded, can it not lead to excessive stress for the employee? So that's a question from Foley.
Okay.
So Doki, you can answer that question for us.
Thank you very much, Madam Sarah. Holly, this is a question I get every time I finish. This is actually the first question I get every time I finish this presentation. I don't know why I have not added fiscal or financial remuneration as a cure for stress. Most people tell me that if they are paid well, all their stress will go away. So I promise you that in subsequent presentation, I will enforce this by making sure that it's part of the strategies to reduce stress, making sure you pay your employees well. I share the same sentiments with you. If you feel you are contributing so much to an organization and you are not being paid well, it's going to definitely be a source of stress because we need money for virtually everything in this country or in the world. And if you are killing yourself in quotes for the company and you are not being paid well, you are going to get financial stress. Even your relationships are going to suffer, your kids' education, your feeding, shelter, everything is going to suffer. So I share your sentiments and I'll ensure that in subsequent presentations, this will be one of the first strategies I will present as a way of reducing stress. Having said that, I'm not saying that the salary alone is enough to cure your stress. You also have to incorporate all these other strategies I mentioned, and that will be a better arsenal for curing stress in the corporate space. Thank you very much, Foley, for your insightful question.
All right, thank you, Doc, for the response. Partners, clients, okay. I wanted to find out if there's anyone who wants to also unmute and ask any question. Doctor is on call to answer any of our questions. So if we have anyone on call who wants to unmute and ask questions, the floor is open as well. Okay, Doc, whilst we wait, there's also a question on the chat from Vadi. Please, can the 30 minutes nap be replaced with exercise or a walk around? If this is not well managed, it could lead to abuse or sense of entitlement.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I have had this challenge at one corporate space. We went to give the presentation and we advocated for the 30-minute nap. And then people started abusing it, of course. Even at 8 a.m., people come to work and say they are taking their nap. As I mentioned earlier, I said it should be taken after your lunch. If your lunch is 1 hour, 30 minutes for the food, no phone, no social media, no political insults, Then after that, the 30-minute nap. Because after lunch, that is where you feel like sleeping because of the hormones I mentioned, serotonin and melatonin coming into play. I wouldn't advocate you to go for a walk because it will defeat the whole process. The body wants to sleep, so sleep. But most people say, oh, if you eat in the evening, you have to go for a walk for the food to digest. It's good. But if you are very physically active at work, you are using the staircase, you exercise during the mornings or evenings. The WHO says that we should exercise at least 45 minutes 4 times a week. If you're able to do this, you don't necessarily have to go for a walk after eating. That's not what is recommended. After eating, especially during lunchtime, if you are feeling sleepy, please sleep. Don't go for a walk. Because when you go for a walk, look at what will happen. Instead of the blood going to your gut, which is the stomach, it's now going to be diverted to your thighs because that's where the calorie burning is going to take place. And then the food will not digest well. So the blood is being shunted from your brain to your gut to help with digestion. Now you decide to go for a walk. What will happen is that blood will now be shunted from the gut also to your muscles to help you with the walk. So digestion will suffer. So I don't think that's the best thing to do. After eating, just take the nap. But don't abuse it. Don't go to your corporations and say, there's one doctor that said we should be sleeping. I didn't say that. I said during the break time. So don't do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doc. Partners, are there any questions you want to ask Doc? Any questions, please? Okay, if there are no further questions, Doc, would like to say a very big thank you for helping us to organize this session for the partners that we have in our business. We are so grateful for your time. Partners on call as well, we are also so happy to have you on call to also use this time. Today is the World Mental Health Day, and we have used this opportunity as well to also educate and also empower you on some of the things that you need to do. We hope that as part of our customer service week, this session has been insightful for you and you have taken some nuggets out, which you'd also use in improving your businesses as well. Thank you so much for being on call. And Doc as well, people are also asking for the slides. I don't know if you would share the slides with us and then we can share with them.
I'll send the Momo number, then and take it from there. I'll send the phone number, then we can take it from there. But I'm grateful. I'm sure the presentation was, how do you call it, recorded, right?
Yes, I also have the recordings as well. Once it's ready, I also share it across to all the companies so that they can also replay, also share with staff as well.
That'll be great. That's one way we can actually help. But we don't mind sharing our slides because I cannot tell you, at Solace, we are always innovating. The next time we are doing this presentation, it's going to be totally different. So we are not those companies that don't share slides. We can share it with you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much, partners. Thank you to those who also join us on our Facebook platform. We are grateful for having you. Happy Customer Service Week once again. And thank you for going above and beyond for all your clients you have, as we do with you. Thank you.
Thank you too, Matt from Brogana. Thank you.
Thank you.